6 o'clock, call to order, please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please roll call.
Keith Feldman.
Here.
Council members Kevin Robinson.
Here.
Joe Muehlbauer.
Here.
Robert Fowler.
Here.
Sarah Udvig. Here.
Do I have a motion tonight to adopt tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Councilmember Muehlbauer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Udvig makes that second. Any discussion, by the way? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to tonight's consent agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Councilmember Bauer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Councilmember Robinson makes a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. All right, meeting open to the public. Barbara, do we have anybody?
No one signed up before.
Okay. Moving on to special business. We have awards to award tonight. The Citizens Awards to Samantha Stewart, Alicia Simons, and Adam Klinkner.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I would like to recognize some individuals for doing some truly extraordinary things. With me this evening are Adam Klinkner, Alicia Simons, and Samantha Stewart. During a November evening in 2018, they were all faced with a situation that was suddenly right in front of them, and their everyday ordinary routines were instantly interrupted. Once they noticed the situation, they reacted without hesitation and provided aid to two young victims who were complete strangers to them. On November 20th, 2018, a tragic accident occurred on Highway 47, and two pedestrians were struck by a vehicle. These individuals sustained very serious injuries and were in need of immediate medical attention. First responders received a call and were a few minutes out. Adam Klinkner was the first passerby to come across the accident and stopped on the busy highway to assess the situation and provide aid to these victims. Once first responders arrived, Adam continued to provide assistance by collecting victim information as responders worked the scene. Adam then remained by the side of one of the victims and assisted first responders in providing aid until she was placed into an ambulance. For his brave actions that evening, I would like to present Adam Klinkner with the St. Francis Police Department Citizens Award. Alicia drove over to the area of McDonald where she observed the victims at the scene of the accident and knew she needed to help. Alicia then arrived at the scene and assisted first responders by placing a seat collar on the victims, assisted in providing oxygen, and helped prepare both victims for transport. So it sounds like if Alicia knew what she was doing, she did. Alicia is actually a paramedic and was off duty at the time, and was with some of her family members at County Market. So Alicia decided to help that evening. I'm sure was a pretty easy decision, and she truly helped make a difference at that scene. So for her actions that evening, I would like to present Alicia Simons with the St. Francis Police Department Citizens Award. Samantha Stewart here. Samantha Stewart was on her way home that evening and came across the accident. And Samantha told me this was not a route that she normally would take that particular night, but this particular night she did. When Samantha observed what she believed was an accident, she parked her car near McDonald's and ran to the scene. Samantha assessed one of the victims who was in critical condition and immediately provided medical aid. Once first responders arrived, Samantha continued to assist by holding C-spine, which is holding the neck and head, immobilizing the head and actually don't move. And she did this while first responders prepared for transport. Samantha was asked several times, including once by myself, if she wanted a replacement and insisted each time that she was fine. Samantha continued providing aid until the victim was transported. For her present Samantha Stewart with the St. Francis Police Department Citizens Award. So Mayor, council members, these individuals didn't have to stop and ride that night, but they chose to anyway. They put themselves in harm's way on a busy highway to help people they didn't know. Adam Klinkner, Alicia Simons, and Samantha Stewart are true heroes, and I'm convinced that their actions that night contributed to saving lives. So it gives me great pleasure in presenting them the St. Francis Police Department Citizens Award and recognizing them for their outstanding service to this community.
It's amazing when you hear all the negative out there during the daytime and you see something positive like that. It just regenerates your thoughts about humanity and people in general. That's a very good positive thing. Thank you very much for that. And we'll go on to another award here for our finance director. This is the 7th award. It's an award of financial reporting achievement from the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada to Darcy Melville, our finance director of the City of St. Francis. You're so good at it, I don't expect anything but that. All right, moving on with tonight's business. No public hearings. I'll let a little bit for everybody to clear up. Thank you, Chief, by the way. Well earned and well deserved. Okay, public hearings, we don't have any, correct? Okay. So, now we're going to move on to old business, which is animal control contract. We've come down to finally three of the three entities. One is no longer a business, that is Quiet Oaks. So two of them are Dover, which is now called North Metro Animals Care and Control, and Gratitude Farm. I see Amanda's here. I did not give you a chance to talk the last time. Do you want to say anything at this particular point? Everything's been said. All right. I'm going to make this pretty simple here. I have done a lot of research on this myself, along with Dave Schatz, our attorney, and Joe Coleman, our city administrator. The committee's already done all the work that had to be done between inspections and interviews and references. As far as the contracts here, I looked at all the contracts. I know which way. I will tell you this: all the contracts are fine. Our contract was fine. I checked with other cities. I checked with Andover. I checked with Oak Grove. I checked all the liability coverage, everything like that. So at this particular point, I will open up for some discussion from the council before we make a vote. But it comes down to two entities. I know that on one entity there's a flat rate, but on the other entity there's a cap on vet care. This is for unclaimed animals. Vet care caps at $300. For unclaimed animals, deceased animals, there's a max out at $58 for burying the animal. And then euthanasia, if that were to happen, it would be capped at $78. So those are all fixed prices on unclaimed. Okay. Other than that, when your dog gets picked up by this particular entity, there's charges that they have that go along with their fee schedules. As far as the other one, there's a flat rate. She was at $350. She went down to $250. I'm not going to go into why, but both do credit cards, both do chips supposedly, and everything else to follow the guidelines, the hours, and everything like that. So I'll open this up for discussion. Sarah, if you have anything to say on this?
I have done a lot of research. I have thought about this. I actually met with several people. I just want it to be very clear that no matter who we go with, we need to just accept that that was our decision, and they need to respect each other. I get it that it's a competing business, but I think that whether it's on their business page or their personal page, when you're representing our city, I really want you to be thinking of that, because it does reflect on our city, because you are, even though you're contracted, you are still representing the city of St. Francis, and we want that to be a positive representation, not negative. So I just request that whichever business we choose, that they respect each other and they stop harassing each other. Because it's gotten out of hand. And it's time that we make the decision and we move forward.
Rob, something to say?
I also did my research. I called numerous cities, and every city has renewed their contracts with Gratitude Farms. I called Minneapolis Animal Control. I wanted to speak with someone outside of this realm to kind of put to silence kennels versus carriers. And what Minneapolis says, it is truly a preference. I've talked with Tammy from Gratitude Farms many times. She sizes the dogs to the kennels. It isn't a, undersizing. She loves animals. If you talk to her, she loves animals. Dover loves animals. I'm for a flat rate because I think that's going to save the city money. We'll see it at the end of the year when the city gets its final bill, and maybe we can make some decisions based off of that, because then we'll know what we're looking at. I'm not a fan of Dover changing our contract to fit his needs. Our city provided a contract. I think that contract should have been filled out based on the city's requirements, and I don't see that in the packet. You got to jump around for all the legalities of how you hold the city harmless and those things. I've talked with the attorney. They're okay with it either way. I'm just preferencing, if the city sends out a contract, you return the contract filled out. You don't send in your own little contract. So that's where I stand. I wanted to talk with Todd. I spoke with him earlier, and kind of get his input on animal control. Todd, do you have any complaints from any of our residents about animal control?
I'm not aware of any particular complaints in regards to, at least as far as when we call, the animals are picked up. And so they do what they're requested of, to my understanding.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, Joe?
I would pretty much just echo what Sarah said. Hopefully everybody can figure everything out and be respectful to each other. And I also just like to thank the residents that gave their input on it, reading all the emails and everything. I appreciate it.
All right, Patty?
Well, being one of the newbies here, I did review my notes in depth from October 9th and all the work that past council members and the mayor did, went out to each site, etc. Again, whatever entity gets chosen, again, I hope for some respect between two businesses. And again, social media has a place, but this is, our city needs to come first at this table. I look at overall costs. I see the $250 a month for one entity as a retainer, more or less. The other one has no monthly cost to the city. Again, the majority of these animals get reclaimed. The people do step forward, and the animal does find its home way back home. And then the owner then incurs costs that have accrued during the time the animal was missing. I took that into consideration. I also, being an animal owner and lover as well, I I would prefer a open kennel situation rather than a container box. I mean, some of those dogs can be there up to 5 days or longer, and there could be some timelines here that I just think it's better in a kennel situation. Again, the pictures show the different variations between the two commercial entities that would house these animals. So from a dollar standpoint, and I'm not even looking at the past business. Again, what happened outside our city, as the mayor previously stated. So I guess whoever we choose, as long as they conform to the contract we set forth, as Robert said, if somebody missed a T or didn't dot an I, if it's minuscule, then it can be corrected, and they still want to be to represent our city. And again, if you get on the internet and look at the two entities as well, one is very open on what they do, and it's very it's user friendly, and we would like our ACO to be user friendly as well. I looked at that aspect as well, and the reason they did split, the one entity did split, so they could have more of a animal control side, and then one is commercial boarding side. So I did clarify that, and I made some phone calls too and talked to some cities as well. So as we go forward, that's all I have.
Okay. All right, first of all, I want to say to you that I got this sheet here in the packet here. From 1997 to 1998, North Metro Humane Society contract was going to $500 per month. That was the ACO at that time. From 1998 to 2001, June of 2001, Golden Set Kennels, actual costs including vet fees. And that's where the problems came in 1999, January 1999, December of 1999, was a cost of $4,522 to the city. And then in January of 01 to June of 01, cost of $3,177, both by the same company. Then in July 2001 to June 2014, Marlene Skater with a $500 flat fee. And in July 2014, the current was Gratitude Farms. I myself do not see a problem with this because, again, this is for unclaimed animals. Not claimed, but unclaimed. You have a cap on vet bills at $300, you have a cap on euthanasia at $78.5, and you have a cap on deceased animals at $58. Therefore, there is no problem. How many deceased, I would like to know, if it's possible, how many unclaimed animals we've had from 1999 all the way to 2019, if that's possible. I don't see the problem. I also have checked with the contracts. I called up Andover. They just renewed theirs with Dover, which is now North Metro Animal Care and Control. So did Oak Grove. I had the contract sent to me from Lauren, the city administrator of Oak Grove. I had the contract sent to me from Andover. They went with their legal version. The contract that North Metro sent to us is the same one that Oak Grove has. And we all know how dealing with Oak Grove, they do scrutinize everything thoroughly. I also had conversations with Dave, our attorney. He looked over all the initial points, 3 points that he was worried about. There is no there's a hold harmless agreement. The hours have been changed. Everything is in sync. Their insurance policies are also $1 million, $2 million liability coverage. There's nothing that I see any difference. And what I don't like about one company, to be honest with you, and I'm sure I'll get some flack on social media, but I don't care anymore. Okay? Because I've been threatened on social media, I've been said I take bribes on social media, this council's been told that they have special interests with the entities. All that is false, false, and false. What I will say to you is, what I don't like is someone who didn't take credit cards now takes credit cards, someone who didn't do payment plans, does payment plans, all this other stuff has now been in motion. This one company did it from the beginning. You have 2 cities, and there's 7 other cities that are with this one company. I can only tell you that this way of doing a flat fee, if you do a flat fee and there's no calls, that's $350 going out, and then if there is calls, it's the residents paying more on top of that. So it's a double dip is what it is. We are better off going with a cap at 300, 58, and 75, like I mentioned before, than do a flat fee, which only ends up to be positive for that, not saving us. I don't believe it saved any money here because we only get about 20 dogs a year at the most. And of that, how many of them are unclaimed? Not many, if any. So we only pay when we're unclaimed versus claimed. The claimed part goes to the residents. So, as far as the contracts, whether that gentleman changed it, we had the same problem with Eric Skolquist from Assessor. He changed some things in the contract. We've done very well with Eric and Mary being assessors. Change is difficult, I understand that. But I can only tell you one thing that bothers me the most is, if 15 to 20, 25, 50% of what's been said on social media is true, we owe it to our residents to listen to what they've said. And I feel that these residents are telling us to go someplace else, is what I feel. So at this particular point, with all discussion done, and a year of misery between email and social media, and I'm sure I'm gonna hear about it tomorrow, but I only just put it in junk mail, so I don't even read it. I can only tell you right now, I'll take a vote. How do I take a vote on this one over the other? Just do a vote from one name to the other and then just go that route?
For one of the vendors over the other. And then I would say, state that subject to final approval as to form by the city attorney. If there's any T's that we have to cross or I's that we have to dot, our office can do that.
Okay, so how do I do a vote? Do I do a vote on one and then, or just vote on either, or how do I do it?
Entertain
Just a motion for one of them. A motion for one of them, take a vote on it. Okay.
I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt North Metro Animal Care Control for the ACO for a period of 1 year in the contract, reviewed at that time, and get feedback from the residents. Do I have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion.
Councilmember Robinson makes that
I'll
motion.
make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Spudvik makes a second. Any further discussion?
I have something, Mr. Mayor. I'm part of a nonprofit. As Dover Kennel is, or NMACC is a nonprofit. I know Mark. He has come to my nonprofit organization and supported us, you know, that we support veterans. I will abstain from this vote. So I just wanted to get that clear.
That's good. Thank you. All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One abstain. Motion passes. Now, what else does the council, do you need, Dave, at that particular point from the motion or anything else?
No.
Then we can put this to rest. Thank you. Thank you, council. Thank you, staff. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, residents. Okay? Now, moving on. New business, D grant resolution 2019-02 local match for a redevelopment grant program.
Mayor and Council, before you is a resolution to allow staff to apply for a redevelopment grant to the Minnesota Department of Employee and Economic Development. In November of 2017, Council committed $225,000 to the project at 3731 Bridge Street. With this grant, we are asking using the city funds to match the state fund for the ability to make additional improvements to the site. Those improvements being considered are related to the road and infrastructure needs being brought into that site. The grant is due on February 1st. I'm bringing this resolution to the EDA tomorrow night, January 23rd, for approval as they are the entity acquiring the property. This grant opportunity is for the benefit of the redevelopment itself, and I feel it is worth the city's time to apply and begin different conversations with the deed agency. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I'd like to ask, how much are we applying for grant dollars?
We would request an additional $225,000 in the grant.
Okay. Well, in my opinion, I feel this is a no-brainer myself, but I will pass this on for discussion with the council. Robin, Kevin, do you have anything to say about it?
I really don't, Mayor. I see it part of the puzzle pieces coming together on the St. Francis Forward initiative, so I really have no questions. Kate, I guess I do have one question. Of the 225, can they give you a partial grant? Could you receive 50,000 of the 2.25, or how much are you applying for? All of it, or?
Mayor, Council, so our current estimate for the 3731 Bridge Street for the acquisition and redevelopment is at the 225. Being that it's a 50% grant, if we don't get a full grant for the infrastructure, if we could use part of that to pay down the acquisition and demolition pieces. So if we get something, it will help offset costs. If we don't get the full amount, it won't allow us to pull that road extension and the water sewer extensions and the curb gutter into that site.
And
So
this is
it'll-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I would say, so it'll just limit how much we can actually get accomplished.
And this 2.25, again, forgive me, but would this come from an EDA fund that or about EDA budget, or some of the city budget, or is there a little bit from both pots, as it were?
Mayor, Council, back in June of 2017, actually November, we actually allocated bottle shop funds to the EDA for the acquisition and demolition, so that's kind of the trail of how it got to where it
Okay.
is.
All right, thank you very much.
By the way, I just want to mention to the public that anytime grant money is available, you should always apply for grant money. I'm a firm believer in that. The worst they can say is no, but it is worth it if you get it. So Joe, do you have anything to say on this?
No, I think it's a no-brainer as well. Thank you.
Rob?
I think it's a no-brainer, but when we bring our motion forward, would it be in conjunction with the EDA approval, or are we ahead of the cart? Should we get the EDA's approval, then the city council, or can we make the motion with EDA's approval?
We can do a contingent, can't we?
Mayor, Council, I'm going to use both resolutions to submit to the state, being that the bottle shop funds are the city portion, which is the match, and then the EDA is the acquiring entity. I think it's important that we make sure we have everybody's involvement equally.
Right. But should we have EDA first, then the city council, or?
We don't have time to come back to the council.
I agree, I agree with that, but should our resolution be with
Well,
EDA
that's-
contingent on?
Can we make a contingent on
EDA's
EDA
approval?
approval?
If you want to.
Okay, let's do that then.
Perfect.
I mean,
Okay.
I can't believe they vote against it.
Again, it's a no-brainer, and I kind of like
We have
it.
2 members of this council on it, I can tell you, I don't vote for it, so, yes, that's Sarah, do you have anything else to say?
No, I agree with what you said. I think that we need to move forward with this and
And I think this is good, because this goes along with our St. Francis Forward Plan, the development of Bird Street, which we're working on. So, that sign says, clearing the way for future retail development of Bird Street. And even though the wind blew it down, our public works staff did a great job putting it back up, so. Can't fight Mother Nature. Anyways, I'd like to have a motion that, to adopt D grant resolution 2019-02, local match for redevelopment grant program, contingent upon approval from the EDA or acceptance from the EDA also. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Councilmember Bauer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Bueller makes that second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Okay. Moving on to schedule a work session. Okay. Joe?
Mayor and council, before you is two different work session proposals. One would be for next, either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, to discuss the building report conducted by Pearl Architecture. I believe he did confirm that all 3 dates work for him, so he's just waiting to find out what day would work for the city council of those 3 dates. And then March 11th, the league offers a new training service where they come out and work with councils, hand in hand, and really walk councils through more of an intense version of the new member training. So these are the proposed work sessions in front of you, and we're looking to schedule dates for March 11th for sure, and then one of the 3 days more for the building.
So that's a work session for March 11th. You want to do that?
Yep, so that would be at City Hall, I would imagine. Same.
What time? What time are you looking?
I don't know if 6 o'clock works for everybody. Let's see.
Well, let's go back to the first one here. January, let's see, we have a finance with you, okay, 3 to 4. 29th is open for me. Anybody else on the 29th open?
That should be fine.
I'm fine. Are we fine with 29th?
I'm fine with the 28th too.
Okay.
We'll have our meeting and then come back.
Either of those days work for me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so,
Either one.
all right, so, because what time are you thinking about the 28th?
5:30, 6 o'clock.
5:30?
whatever works.
Okay, now we got it after the finance, we can just go over that.
Okay.
All right, is that okay with you?
that would mean I'll miss the school board meeting, but I think.
No, that's important though, too.
Okay.
So, the 29th. The 29th is a good day. Can we do the 29th? Anybody?
I can do it just fine.
Yeah.
Okay, 29th, 5:30 on the 29th, okay, 1/29, which is a Tuesday, 5:30, City Hall. Right? Is that good, Joe?
Yep.
Okay. All right, and then moving on to the March 11th one, that's fine, I mean, that's in between council meetings, and then the time, what do you think, 6 o'clock,
I
5:30?
did 6 o'clock just to ensure that the league representative can get up here. She's in very high demand, and she was booked out until March 11th, so it's a very popular training.
And that'll be the City Hall too, right?
Yep.
Is that okay with everybody on the council?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you have your 2 dates?
Yep.
Okay, 5:30, okay, good. All right, thank you, everybody.
Sorry, maybe what was the 3/11 on March 11 one?
March 11th, 6 p.m. at City Hall. Thank you. Okay, moving on, that completes that. Moving on to audio equipment.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, Councilmember Mulebauer and myself have been trying to find a solution to get better audio quality for the live streaming that we do for the city council meetings. Talking to some retail outlets, doing research on the internet. The best proposed system I think we've been able to come up with that doesn't require a soundboard or mixing board is the items in the packet. The downside is that these are on back order everywhere. They're a popular product. They told us in theory it should work. We can do some testing, prior to actually ordering the expensive microphones. But if for whatever reason, whether it be a software capability or some unknown reason that it was not a solution, we can return them, but there's going to be a $500 restocking fee for those sets of the microphones. So there is a little bit of risk here. The only place that I was able to find these products available is out of California. So they're
Not on Amazon.
I don't know if I got there through Amazon or not. I think Amazon may have one of
Just
them.
kidding.
But they're a pretty popular product. Kind of looking for some direction here, when taxpayer money is involved and you have to return something and you're owed some money, I thought everybody should be on board with this decision if we go this direction.
All right, well, I will have to say, and you're telling me the total investment is $2,848, which is a lot better than what ISD 15 said, $50,000. So, that would
Even better than that.
5,000 we thought before, so that's really good. But it's $500 restock for the all of it, right? It's not 500, whatever. It's 500 for the all 2,848. If it doesn't work, then it's 500 restock.
My impression was that it would be $500 to stock each of the two microphone sets, so $1,500 for each product. Is what I believe.
In all the years I've done business, I've paid 10%, 5% and 10% restock charges. I've never paid 50% restock charges. That's to me is a little ridiculous. And by the way, is it digital versus analog? Which one is it?
Yeah.
This is digital?
Digital.
What I like about it is the fact that if it works, eventually our hope someday is to have a new city hall and chambers and that, and we'll have to have sound problems there too, so this could be carried forward. But I can only tell you, in my opinion, $1,000 in a restock charge if it doesn't work, that's a lot, in my opinion. I don't mind paying a reasonable restock charge, but that's a gouge, in my opinion. So
That's why we wanted to bring it forward to the councils to talk to everybody and get it out there.
is it worth talking to St. Francis Area Schools and see if they'll split the restock if it doesn't work? Because this affects them too.
I was under the impression they have their own solution.
Really? I'd sure like to know what
I
that is.
don't know if they use an iPad now or not. I
They
don't
do
know.
use an
So I
iPad.
think that they have their solution. That's what I was told. I can't say I heard that from anyone at the school district, so I don't want to sort of rumor or anything that was the word that got back to me, I guess. I couldn't verify, if I couldn't verify, I was led to believe it was 500 for each set of equipment. I could double back and double check that, and if it's 500 versus 1,000, I don't know if that makes a difference in the council's.
Well, here's my question, what are they doing? Just the iPad and just taking it right off the
They
iPad?
put an iPad up there and I will
Because
tell
if
you
that works,
that
you don't need the
when
mics too, that's
I
always
went
an option for us as well.
I was at the school board meeting on Monday, and I actually had somebody from the cabinet say, I hope city council gets their
Well,
system
and if it
fixed."
worked, great, I think. we're
Because they
all
want,
in
I
favor
think
of
they're
whatever
counting
we
on
can
us
achieve as
and
we
hoping
can.
that we're gonna let them
Well, in that
use
case,
ours, and if that's the case, then they need to help pay for this, and they need to help if there would be a restocking fee. So my suggestion would be, let's talk to the school board.
so are you telling me the school corrected the problem?
They think that it's better than what they had before, and that's what they suggested we do, is just use one of our iPads.
We can always test that out a few times too and see how
Yeah,
it
and
goes.
The iPad was built with this setup. So this takes an iPad, gets this double cord thing from both sets of 8 mics that plug in there.
Right.
So it's like an iPad on a 16 microphone steroid package so that everyone has a mic in front of them. So same concept, but just a larger.
Well, it'd be cheaper to buy an iPad and do just that designator for that than to go with this other
We
thing.
already have.
We have.
Well, then we have one, well, there you go.
That's why we should at
Maybe we
least
should
test
try
that
that.
first.
Well, we should test that before, because I can only tell you, I can't justify $1,000 on a restock charge if it doesn't work. I just can't do that.
Yeah, right.
I just can't. I mean, you know, that to me is a gouge. I can understand a 10%, 20% max, but, you know, a couple hundred, $200, $300, but you want 500 each, $1,000 for restock, but to put it back on the shelf and sell to somebody else? That's insanity.
Should ask the audience if anybody's been to the school board meeting or watched them online and how
That's
they
what I was
work.
gonna say, we need to check, we can do that too, and just, I
Anybody?
mean, I was here, so I didn't listen to it.
I don't know if it was recent, I don't know when this was.
It was me.
Well, that's something we should all go home and take a look at.
You know.
Well, we should
I
definitely,
did watch the school board meeting, I don't know when I was told that. I can't say it's crystal clear audio. I mean, you still gotta turn your computer, that was my experience for that one particular meeting, when someone told me that they were using an iPad. It didn't seem like a permanent solution, maybe it was a little better, I guess I didn't compare it to what it was like before. And I don't know if that's the quality we're aiming for, I would say that.
all right, well, let me also bring this up. I mean, I mentioned Amazon in kind of a kidding way, but I tell you what, you know, over the years that I've been an Amazon customer, I mean, I've got some, you know, deals on equipment for HVAC. I've got some equipment, you know, repair parts for refrigerators, for cars, at good prices. I mean, I've always said it's worth checking into. Is it possible we could check into that end of it?
Yeah.
And see about if this equipment's available on that site and for a better price than restocks of $1,000.
Yeah, I know when I was looking for soundboards and everything, and I'm kind of in between, I'm not all the way digital.
Right.
So there's a learning curve there. But I think too, it's when I was looking for soundboards and everything too, I was checking out everything on Amazon as well. And they had, to get what we needed, they didn't quite have what we needed in that aspect, but we can definitely look into this as well.
Okay. Well, then I would, Kevin, you have anything to say on this?
No, I agree, that was one of the things, you know, been my pet peeve to make, we want clarity and transparency, and this is a good way to do it. I agree with you, 40% restock plus on this product. Sometimes when you snoop in or you drill into some of these Amazon distributors, if you find one component, if you actually drill farther and call the actual distributor, they might have access to this other product, and then you could package something that way, just go step outside the margin, and they're happy to, anybody's happy to make a sale on it, they back it up afterwards, but.
Well, I'm only doing research you need help on, your help, so I'll get this going here, but I just think before we jump the gun here and go farther, we should think first. No, it's better to take 2 steps back, a deep breath before you go 2 steps forward.
Then you're right where you start.
And we don't want to, well, we can't get any worse, we just need to get better, that's for sure. So, if that's agreeable, let's do it on that. Agreeable? That's right? Okay. All right, Joe, is that okay? That's direction on that?
Yes,
Do I need a motion?
Are we just gonna hold off on anything?
Well, we're gonna check on the iPad, we're gonna check on Amazon, and then we're gonna do, and then maybe clarify if it's a 500 or 1,000 on a restock.
We'll come back with more information. I will say I scoured the internet looking for these specific things, and they're very difficult to find.
Okay.
Joe Coleman, I would suggest that you speak with Kathleen Miller, because she's the one who does, she takes care of the setup for the school board meetings, so she's gonna know exactly. Anybody else is gonna be like, oh, I think this is what you do. But since she's the one who handles it, I would speak with Kathleen Miller.
All right. And then I want to bring up something else. Is it worth some time bringing someone out from one of these entities out here and let them look at the system and see what we really need?
Well, and Joe even actually brought that up. My concern was more of what kind of cost are you paying these people to come out?
Well, if they want to make a sale, they'll come out on their own time. Like most of us in the bid world go bid for free.
I don't disagree.
You know, I mean, to get the job over. most of us in the real world, you know, I did on a job, I have no guarantee I'm going to get it. So I don't know. I mean, it's worth asking. But if they really want to make a sale, you got to give a little bit to get a little bit.
Well, I think he looked into one company, what was it? I thought how much was it for them to come check out and assess?
What my impression was, they could fix the building audio issues, but I mean, we're looking at something totally different. It's remote sound, with radio mics. I mean, it's detached from the building. Yeah, I did reach out to a company, but they've done city halls, but those are all hardwired into the building, and we're doing something.
Well, you know, I mean, what about music companies like Trustman Music and people like that that sell audio equipment for bands and stuff like that? I mean, is that worth checking into? I'm just asking.
No, there's multiple companies. You know, I was looking around at the car stores where I got most of my equipment, which I was the biggest wholesaler, and then there's, for the name off the top of my head, there's also a place in Robbinsdale right there off of, spread off, 42 and West Broadway. So I can swing by there again too.
All right, any help you need on doing this research, I'll do with you, no problem. But I just think we have to be cautious how we do this, and whatever we spend, we have to make sure we can take it on to a future new building of ours, which eventually someday, and I can't tell you what day that's gonna be, but we need a new city hall down the road. Of course, that comes out to affordability and where monies will come from. I don't wanna do with taxpayer money, I wanna do with grants and sale of the property we have right now, is my goal anyway, so, but that's down the road. Anyways, no further discussion on this matter? Okay. Now, moving, meeting open to the public, or anybody? No? Okay, fine, okay. Now, on reports, Joe, you have something, before I open up reports, you have something to say tonight? Do you want to bring it up?
Yeah, honorable mayor, members of the council, with the recent developments with the bottle shop, there's a request to close the bottle shop on Saturday from noon to 5 for a funeral that will be happening. All the liquor store employees wish to attend that particular funeral. So what I'm looking for tonight is council authorization for staff to close the bottle shop from noon to 5 this Saturday. And we can put something on social media and potentially send out an advisory and just to get the word out there with a short notice. What do you guys think?
Right. The council is aware of what happened, so is staff. I will also say to the public that there was a tragedy, and the manager of John of our bottle shop, his family, and that's his concerns. I won't go any further in depth than that. But I will say to you that if we're going to do this, I'd like to put it on Nixle, let people know that it will be closed, open up until 10. What time is it open up?
5, you said noon to 5, right?
It would close from noon to 5. I think they're 10 to 10 on Saturday. I can double check that. Not really.
Right, so they'll be open before and then after.
Yeah.
Okay, but we'll open this up for discussion, but I don't see how we can say no to this now.
No, I would support
This is a tragedy, not something definitely planned about, that's for sure. So Sarah, do you have any comment?
No, I would approve of that.
Okay, Rob?
I personally would approve just opening it up at 5 and cut the first 2 hours out as well. I know these people want to get to the funeral and support them in that, so I would be for 5 p.m. just open up and people can.
Because we only have 2 hours before the 10, right?
Yeah.
It opens up at 8? Well, no, in the morning. When does it open up on Saturday morning?
9 to 12. So it'd be open 9 to 12, and then 5 to 10. 9 to 10. 9 a.m. it opens, 10 p.m. it closes.
I think that would be more confusing if we can just go.
Yeah.
We should just have it open and just say it's open at 5.
I agree.
I agree as well.
I mean, like I say again, this is a tragedy. This isn't something that's going to be on an everyday basis and hopefully never happen again in our lifetime, whatever. But is that what you need to know? So we'll just close and we'll make it aware on Nixle and our website too, if necessary, if we can. That it will be closed on Saturday. Is it this Saturday?
It's upcoming Saturday.
Okay, and then we'll reopen at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then employees can take their time and do what's right. Okay. I need a motion on this?
You can certainly do one.
Okay. Do I have a motion to, let's see, just to make sure this, I have the dates right. Let's see. On Saturday, the 26th, right? That'd be the 26th? Am I correct? Okay. Do I have a motion to have the bottle shop closed on Saturday, January 26th, from the, open rather, from the hours of 5 p.m. Till 10 p.m. On that day and that day only? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Councilmember Newell makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Bauer makes that second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Joe, for bringing that up. 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. And once again, put it out on Nixle and our website, whatever, to make people aware. Okay, moving on to department reports, Community Economic Development Annual Report. Kate?
Mayor and Council, before you is the 2018 annual report for the Community Development Department. Within this report, I've outlined the activities that were addressed in 2018 and as many continue into 2019. I will walk through the report itself. On page 4, I have updates on the current economic development projects. Many of these have been multi-year projects. We are hopeful to see progress in 2019. One quick update, we did get the quick trip building permit application this afternoon. So that is
For
on
Quick
there.
Trip. Hey. All right.
Yes, on page 5, I've highlighted some of the ongoing work with the St. Francis Forward Plan and the Economic Development Initiative that we're participating in with Anoka County, Connexus, and all of the other cities within Anoka County, actually. So these are progressing and they continue to move forward in various processes. On page 6, I have outlined our housing projects, and as we watch Woodhaven move swiftly into 2019, it is likely we will see one, if not two, Turtle Pond development projects move forward. We saw one of their concept plans. They're looking at another parcel, so we could see movement there. I've also outlined the Meadows documents have moved forward, and they are on track. And if they stay on track in the legal system, the EDA will have a decision to make this spring in regards to the future development of those parcels as well. On page 7, I begin the numbers that represent the work in our building department. The building permit revenues were down in 18 from 17, mostly due to the reduction of the new single-family homes. On page 18, I talk about some of the value of the improvements. I think there's always an awareness that has to be made of the value of even a remodel project. That sometimes keeping our current inventory is just as important, if not more important, than new structures, because we want to keep what we have and keep it in good shape for that resale and that market value as a city as a whole. On page 8, I show the value of improvements, and then also the residential new construction permits, and those were down for 2018 as well. With the Meadows, Turtle Ponds, and potentially River's Edge making some changes in 2019, hopefully we will see all 3 of those pick up this year. On page 9, I addressed the code enforcement in 2018. This was a topic that was a tough one. We worked through a couple work sessions. We talked about some heavy fines and disputes, and we even had a nuisance property that had to be abated. We also addressed 2 major codes, amending our solar system codes and putting in place some checklists and updates and permit process and a moratorium on our storage facilities, which will be back before council this year to make some decisions in regards to the zoning district will place those and the standards will put on that type of a permit. So then on page 10, I outline a few of the administrative tasks and the programs that are administered within the department. With the change in department staff, I believe these will only continue to improve and become more efficient. 2018 has several pieces in process that will be pushing their way through 19, and I suspect it will be another busy year, but a lot of positive change will continue to move forward. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I just want to say that on the residential new construction permits, you had a year in 38 in 2016, 70 in 17, and 41 in 18. But if you look at it, 16, those were years when the prepping of the developments as far as stormwater, sewer, water mains going in, sewer main goes in, stormwater mains going in, and power and everything else going in. So you had a year where you're putting the utilities in, and then the next year usually then comes the sale year. So I would look for an up year with the economy holding over 2019. 2019 will be an increase in permits too, by the way. Also, want to ask you a question. As far as we have been made aware that Walker Methodist is not going to be taking that lot next to Casey's, so that lot will come back to the city on a letter of intent as of March or earlier. But we have been talked to them, and we are going to be putting a packet together to hopefully work on maybe a possible senior housing project in that property behind Subway, either that or townhomes as well as the St. Francis Forward Plan. So I just want to make the council and public aware of that. That it may begin, because Mosaic is now involved with GD1, that project looks a whole different thing. So what my hope is, and I know this council hopes the same way, that we can end up with a senior housing on one side of the river and assisted living on the other side of the river, which would complement each other. And I truly believe, as I said this before, if a recession were to come, trash is recession-proof, because trash has to be picked up no matter what the economy does. And people don't stop aging just because the economy's down. So I would hope that senior housing and assisted living could be some good things for the city. So that's our goal here, to set it back out, see where that goes. But in the meantime, we're waiting for a development plan, more information from Mosaic Knowledge GD1. So that's a good thing. So I'm not worried about the permits thing. I think, and I see that Woodhaven 6 is really moving forward in a big way. So that's a good thing. I would just say, as far as the code compliance and all that, I have no problem with any of that. I think we've done everything we can. We don't want to see abatements, but that does happen. So I will open this up for discussion on this part of it with Rob. Are you anything to say on this?
Well, I tend to agree with you, Mr. Mayor, on the 2017, we saw 70. The infrastructure was already there. Those homes started going in. We signed off on opening up some more developments. You got to watch the roads go in and all that. So I can see why we dropped in 2018 to 41. But I'm hopeful that in 2019 it's going to skyrocket again in that whole area. It looks really good. The report looks great, and I appreciate it.
Well, especially when you see the price of houses out of this range. You're talking about about 230 some range out here for houses. So we've always said we have affordable lot prices and affordable house prices, and now we're working on getting the rates in line. So hopefully we'll get that trifecta in play. All right, Sarah, do you have anything to say?
I know I asked this before, but it was probably 2 years ago. Have we talked with Mary Chespold at Mary T. Inc. in Coon Rapids recently to see if they would be interested in coming to our area at all?
Mayor and Council, I have not had a direct conversation with them. I know the parcel that they were looking at previously is a zone commercial, so it would be difficult to just put a traditional housing project on that site. If there were sites that they were interested in, but we have not received anything from them that they are interested in expanding as well. So, thank you.
Joe?
I don't have any questions. I do thank you with all the reports and working with you and sitting with you all the time. That we get to work on this stuff and talk, and look forward to another year.
Kevin?
Okay, yeah, I want to thank you, Kate. This is an awesome report. It's very extensive and detailed, and it's nice for some of us simpler people to see it, some comparisons and whatnot. I have a couple questions. One, has the city ever been involved, or our Chamber of Commerce, I know is very, to a better term, lightly attended. I've been to several meetings myself, and it seems to be less than more. Does the city ever, or do we want to try and embrace that more? And there's a second part to my question. Do we ever take the time to go out and talk to current businesses? We talk about flourishing and encouraging new business here. As I was out and about earlier, or mid last year, and so some of the businesses, they just pay their property taxes and they move on, and but they're very nice people. They're very genuine, sincere people, and they haven't seen a lot of people, no matter from what, for whatever reason. It's like, you leave me alone, we'll do our thing. But is there anything we can do to, I guess I believe we should encourage more of that and talk to some of these people, because I heard about expansions, that people talking about pushing out walls and adding 5,000 feet, and they said they hadn't seen anybody in years past, and we all know the various administrations, etc. But I would volunteer my personal time to help or go out and be a liaison for that. But there's some unsung business people out there that don't hire all St. Francis people because of various trade skills and whatnot, but they're spending money here, and the people that they do hire come and go and spend money here, and I'd like to see us encourage more of that and reach out to everyone. And I think I literally saw probably 35 to 40 businesses, big and small, and in that same token, home businesses. Has there ever been any? I know from other communities that there's home businesses that they work off the grid, so to speak, and they've offered some amnesty situations where, hey, come on in and we'll get you a use permit, or we'll talk about what are you doing, why are you doing it, and that was just some of the stuff off the top of my head.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, so the chamber, the city is on the board now, so we will be representing the chamber and participating more with the chamber and being a piece of that. And part of that ties us back into the countywide initiative, so that's through the Metro North Chamber. So it'll help align both chambers together and working with those business pieces. In regards to business retention and expansions, I do have conversations with a handful of businesses. A lot of them are to the mindset that we'll do our own thing and either have a past or a bad feeling with the city. So we are trying to mend those bridges. As new companies come in, one of the first things I do is try to reach out to them, offer any technical assistance, offer any phone numbers, and try to make that resource right up front so they know we're here and that I don't want to establish that I'll do my thing here and you stay on your side right away. So I try to break that as soon as I can. And then in regards to home businesses, we have several home businesses. Some of them are very successful, some of them have their permitting in place. We are very happy to work with anybody that has a concept that is thinking about moving into the city or moving their business from one parcel to another within the city. What happens though is we do have a handful of businesses that are some of our highest code enforcement issues, nuisance issues, and unfavorable neighbor issues. And those are the ones that are probably making that concept the hardest to be acceptable because people are seeing them as that home business figure. So that's a tough one. We do encourage anybody that's thinking of that process to come in early. We've had 2 people buy land, one assuming that they will get an IUP for a business, one that is trying to get the city to do a pre-approval for something so they can buy land. So we have a lot of discussions, but it's the ones that don't call that seem to be our toughest residents. So that's a continually moving piece, that one. So.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
I just want to also clarify that since 2006, this is actually the first year, this last year, it's 18, was the first year we actually put shovels in the ground, River's Edge. So that development went down and came back. So we are at a point right now, we get the variance for the rural to urban and move forward with these other developments. And we also are in discussion with the property owner on the 124 acres on Ambassador 47 for residential and commercial in there. So I think Kate's done a great job as far as reaching out and planning good. Our HKGI planner is a good firm. And what I like about them is I've said this before, they told me on the projections that the Met Council had here, put it in more of a realistic number that can be achieved population-wise. And they've now made us aware that we have to work around the buildings of St. Francis area schools because those are not moving, especially if there's like $80 million in the bond money. So we have to work with what we have, and it's a challenge on Bridge Street, no doubt in my mind, between roundabouts and rivers and county roads and school district and whatever. It's a challenge. But we are now bringing attention. I've always said all along that a community development director should have been here years and years ago. We are on the 3rd year with you now. Is it 4th now? 3rd year. Okay. All right. But 3rd year, and we're getting good action out of that department, so that's really good. So like I say again, it's a lot of work. I mean, as I said before, as I took the oath here on January 7th, we've done a lot of work, but there's a lot more work to do. And this is just part of it. So I want to thank you in your report. I like it, pictures and reading about it. Look very good. So thank you. We're done with you then?
Yeah, I'm done.
Let's move on to Public Works.
Mayor and Council, in your packets tonight are the December monthly reports for the Public Works Department, also the yearly reports for the Public Works Department. I'll start with Streets and Parks and Water and Sewer monthlies. December really shows a lot of routine activity. When you see plowing snow and snow and ice control, you'll see a lot of hours in maintenance afterwards. Washing, greasing, taking care of the equipment after we've used it to take care of the streets. The water and sewer report, again, very routine. During winter months, we see a lot of routine preventative maintenance. We take equipment out of service, change oil, change belts, change filters, do inspections and make sure that everything is in a proper state so that we can run efficiently during our harder used months, which are summer months. You'll also see in that December water sewer report that we did not have to pull any pumps due to rags. So that was exciting to see one month.
I can applaud that.
In our yearly reports, again, you'll see a lot of miles of streets plowed, a lot of, taking care of the snow and ice control, a lot of hours used to maintain equipment, taking care of equipment, and just generally, taking care of that equipment that gets used on a daily basis for those big jobs. You'll also see a large amount of water used to flood the rinks that, you'll look at January, February of last year, in addition to the November, December of, the beginning of the year and then the end of the year. But not only do the gallons add up, that's man hours and equipment hours of our staff out there trying to maintain that ice and take care of it, make sure that it's in good, scalable condition. So, if you look at our water and sewer reports, again, yearly averages are amazing as far as our removals, both at the water plant and the wastewater plant. Again, a lot of equipment being used and maintained, a lot of man hours going into being at those facilities, making sure that everything is doing what it's supposed to do, making sure that it's maintained properly and taken care of. You will see that we pulled approximately 48 pumps for the total on the year due to ragging or plugging issues. So I don't have a comparison to the 17 year, but that's still a large amount of hours when you think about 2 hours per pump when you're pulling them. So with that, Mayor and Council, I'll answer any questions you might have.
Rob will start with you.
Well, I was excited about having any pumps pulled, but like you said, over the year, we have had a lot of rags, and that's a lot of wasted man hours for our city and well and septic people to pay. I just can't reiterate enough, if it's not supposed to go down, don't flush it down. I know we have kids and whatnot, but no rags is actually saving money because we're saving man hours. The report is awesome. I look at the water, again, bring your guy in with that refurbished water and we'll take a drink.
You ever take a drink? We'll take a drink too. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, Sarah?
No, I just want to thank all for the great report again, and I too reiterate, no rags is saving money, so continue doing that.
And just because it says on the packet, whites can be flushed, that's not true. Paul says it really apropos. He says, if it doesn't come out of you, if it comes out of you, flush it. If it doesn't, so pretty simple. I like that. All right, Joey, everything to say? No. Kevin?
Paul, again, for a nice report, it's out there for all to see, and very well done. I do have a question though, with ice rink water, what water can you use when you flood those rinks? Can you use the sprinkler water or the byproduct that you said?
There are some parameters that we possibly could, but we would need to be disinfecting with chlorine in order to use that. And generally in the winter months or the non-recreation months, we're not utilizing our chlorine system. So we could, but there would be that potential of having to add chemical to it.
I was just curious. I wasn't really thinking of a cost-saving measure. I just wondered if it was allowable.
It is, and then we would also have to put signs up saying this is reused water.
That's a PR nightmare, I'm sure.
Don't fall on the ice and don't lick the ice.
Job well done. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Kate. I think the reports that are concise and easy to read, so it's nice to be able to follow with what you're doing. So, all right. Moving on to council member reports. I will start with Sarah.
I attended the school board meeting on Monday night, and I would like to welcome the new officers. And I also went to the Vocalocity preview on Thursday night, and it was great to see both Annie and Kaya there. Annie did sing with one of the songs, and
Kaya was there too?
Kaya was there too. She was, and she's actually, she walked a very short distance with her walker and with an assist, so that was very, very encouraging to see. They got a very large round of applause and many tears were shed, and that's thanks in part a lot to our people who got their awards tonight.
I'd just like to say, you know, the Pedersen and 47, I can't say enough how important it is to get that intersection fixed. I know, not a few days ago, there was another accident involving cars, which is no better or worse, you know, it's a tragedy. I just don't think this thing needs to calm down. We need to really push for changing that intersection, and I think that's something that's going to be number one on my priority list this year.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, Joe?
I don't have a lot to report, and we're gonna keep working on the audio issue.
Kevin?
This time around.
Again, I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity to be here. I also, Mayor, my appointment to the planning and zoning, I'll be more than happy to attend those. I look forward to doing that. I just want everybody to know too that these guys work really hard behind the scenes. I've been exposed to other communities and the work they do and the work they don't do. And between work sessions and whatnot, this is one of the hardest working government entities of a small city that I've seen as a civilian and a citizen and a participant. So just be aware these guys are earning their money, believe it. Two, I just want to step back one to the ACO part, animal control. Can we make Nixle publication or dispatch as part of our Facebook or whatever the requirement is for Dover to make Nixle part of their situation, so we can utilize that as well?
We can talk about that. We did, when we adopted Nixle, we made very specific and clear parameters as to what we were going to use that for.
Okay.
It's something that staff can revisit tomorrow in our staff meeting and discuss, and then we can report back to council on that.
I think it would be helpful because we were trying to promote Nixle as well, and the more people, if they had whatever avenue, any communication is good communication. That's another avenue. Other than that, that's all I have here. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. I did, speaking of Pedersen 47, I was contacted by Congressman Emmer's office, and Nicholas Lundenborg did get back to me. He is new on board with Congressman Emmer, and he is part of the highway. I don't have his exact title here, but we've had some correspondence, and he's been looking at some stuff, and he was aware of some grants and stuff as you had mentioned previously. So we do that, or it seems to be we're getting all hands on deck, so that's a good thing.
Well?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
By the way, Chief, do we have a count? Do you have a current count on the amount of Nixle that we have?
I would have to look.
Okay. Because I know it was like 700 something plus before.
Yeah, that was a couple of months ago.
I have stopped walking in the neighborhood, so. Anyway, wanted to say, as far as the closing of the liquor meeting on Saturday, I would also suggest we put a sign on the door there at the building itself. So when people come up, if they don't have the Nixle or they don't have, we have to go on the website where they'll be able to see a sign. Yeah.
Can it be
And
on
again,
there?
no, can we have a digital sign? There you go, the digital sign. Excellent. Close and then open up that. Very good. That was done. Okay, good. Also, I want to tell people, because I mean, I see these post pages of people assuming this and assuming that. I'm not even going to go on about what people say about when you assume something. I'm not going to even put that in the minutes. But I'll say to you that if you want to know what's, understand something. When Melissa Barnes from MnDOT was there at our last meeting, she stated that, usually a time frame is between 5 to 7 years to make something permanent, if I recall, okay? But they are because of what's happening to this corridor here, they're going to move the permanent part up to 2021. That's a huge, huge deal for MnDOT and their policies. Understand something. Sheila Kaufi is the North Area Branch Manager of MnDOT. Her child goes to middle school. She can't push it any faster than anybody else can, and she's part of MnDOT. So there's policies that have to be followed, and procedures that have to be followed. So it's just not a matter of taking a gavel down, which I wish I could take this gavel down and say, give us a bridge, give us this, give us that. It doesn't work like that. I only say to the public, go on our website, if you have a computer, go and hold your cursor on our community. And then a window will pop up, and in the lower left corner is the link to MnDOT. And that will explain everything to you as far as their timeline. The open hearings that will be done, because they will be doing numerous open hearings, getting public feedback, which is what they always do. And then at the end, do I believe it's going to be a multiple things that will have to be done between slowing speeds, stop signs, maybe a walk bridge, maybe I don't know. But there's going to be more than just one. The priority right now, of course, is priority one is Pedersen and 47. That's a for sure thing. But this is going to be a process here. Again, the timeline has been cut down from 2025 to 2021, which is good. They put temporary things in motion already, and those will stay in place until the permit done, but there's a process, and that process, again, entails having open hearings with the public. As we did with our comp plans and our community plan, our St. Francis plan, we have numerous open hearings, which is how it happens. Nothing gets done. I wish I could take this thing and slam it and break it and get those things done, but I can't. So our government is working pro to this. We don't want, I'm in constant contact with Kristen Lamont, Annie's father. I talk to him all the time, and I have meetings set with him and MnDOT with him. And then we have a big meeting coming up on the 30th of MnDOT and start the process. So it's a start. It's a long road ahead, but it's a start. And I wouldn't mind seeing someday with these corrections or changes to corridor. I would entertain someday if we get to that point having plaques made up with Kaya's and Annie's names on it, because their sacrifice is going to make this change here. Council's been working on this for a long time, but it seems now this has brought something to light here. And I don't want this poker flame dying out. And I told Chris Lamont that, and he doesn't want it either. So he just also agrees, just to let you know, he also met with Senator Dowd. He just met with him and Michelle Pence. Representative Dowd. Correct. Right, thank you. Always correct. And then Representative Dowd, and then Michelle Benson will hopefully be, Senator Michelle Benson will hopefully be involved, and then of course his council and staff will be involved. So that's a big thing about it. But I also want to emphasize to kids out there, if there's buttons to be pushed, just don't assume you can cross the street right away. Wait till that sign comes up red or whatever. Am I right on that sheet? I mean, I think sometimes they push that button and just assume that it's going to happen right away. They can start walking. You got to make sure that those cars see that and then cross the intersection. Luckily, this accident on Thursday of last week was just cars and not people. But we've been lucky so far, and I truly believe the way to be with 47 is be preemptive and proactive, not wait till a fatal accident happens, try to catch it before it happens. That's my philosophy on a lot of things in the city, as far as our kind of software and future, looking out 20, 25 years now, spending the money wiser, things that we put into fruition here since we've come in, and more work to do, but we're getting bang for the buck here. We're spending money, but we're getting the bang for the buck on the return. That's a good thing. That was not done here before, it's being done now. So when I campaigned in my first term, I always ask people, why can't government run like a household budget? We're proving that it can. We really are proving that. So on that, I will say to you, remind everybody that office will be closed on February 18th for President's Day. We have a council meeting on the 4th and the 19th, and then a planning commission meeting that Kevin will be attending on the 20th. Any other business here?
Mr. Mayor,
The
the 19th will be a Tuesday for our meeting, because of the, so it'll be Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, right. 4th and 19th of February for our council meeting, because the 18th is a closed, for the city to be closed. We have the presence, right, so the 19th. And then again, another Tuesday, planning commission on the 20th. On that, I just also want to mention to people, if you notice it's getting daylight longer now. It's getting darker about 5 or after 5, which is a good start of spring, which I like a lot. Australian Open's going on right now, which is another sign of spring. There's already advertisement for the Masters 12 tournament, which gives me hope that summer's coming. I try to think about that all the time because I'm cold and tired of winter already, even though we haven't done snow. Anyways, any other further business we need to discuss here at all? I want to thank staff for everybody. Oh.
I have a question here, Mayor.
If you could come up and state your name and address.
Yes.
Need to hear.
My name is Craig Saber. I'm under the impression tonight that I was on the new business agenda. I was told by the city, a couple of ladies at the city, that I was on the agenda this evening.
Pertaining to what?
Mayor and Council, the consent agenda C for the pawn shop application.
Oh, okay, yes.
So it was approved as part of our consent agenda.
It was. That was at the beginning of the meeting?
Correct.
I'm sorry.
No, that's no problem. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, consent agenda, those items were approved already.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the city.
Welcome to the city.
Thank you.
Sorry I had to stay the whole time, that's that question earlier.
That's okay. I don't mind at all. Thank you, ladies
Thank
and
you.
gentlemen. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, okay. On that, do we have any other business to discuss? Then I'll thank the residents and staff and the council. Thank you for your time. It's, let me just get the time right here, 7:15, I adjourn this meeting.